connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Hey everybody, welcome to Good Morning Idaho. Happy to be with you on this Friday morning. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, and we've got a lot in store for you this morning from our large team of neighborhood reporters, bringing more stories than anyone else in our market. Like coming up this morning, Greenlee Clark highlighting the latest affordable housing option that is coming to Boise's West Bench. And it comes as the city has seen some of the steepest rent increases in the entire country in recent years. Also, after 80 years missing in action, an Idaho soldier now identified, his body now making his way back home. Our Brady Caskey shares his story in the community reception. We'll get to those stories coming up in just a minute. But first, let's get the very latest on our weather. Sophia's out on vacation, and Isaiah is in this morning with, wow, amazing weather, really.
Pretty impressive temperatures. Not the norm that we see usually in the month of October. And temperatures certainly at, 6 o'clock in the morning? Not what we're used to seeing. 70 degrees right now. We got some wind on top of that, too. I'll show you the weather pattern that's kind of mustering up the conditions that we're seeing right now. And honestly, we're not the only ones dealing with the warmer conditions. 74, the warmest we've seen since midnight. So just a couple hours ago, we were up at 74 degrees, 60s down the I-84 corridor on top of that too. This is just not really normal. These are the daytime highs this time of year, but it's all being caused by a couple of things. We got a high pressure ridge that's doing a clockwise motion over here, a counterclockwise motion from a low pressure system behind me, and it's kind of just drawing up these warm conditions, actually bringing in some thunderstorm activity to the north of Idaho Falls. Boise won't see any showers, Twin Falls staying clear, and honestly a beautiful day with 80-degree highs expected for you. It's not so fall-like. Don't worry, we've got fall-like conditions hanging off of the coastline, set to move on in. I got your weekend plotted out in just a few moments.
Be here before we know it. Thanks, Isaiah. Appreciate it. We turn first this morning to an update on the murder trial in Gooding County. And this is a story that our Joey Martin first brought you in December of last year. And the judge this week delivered the sentencing. This is what we know. A Gooding teenager, Alexander Garcia, has been sentenced to life in prison with 25 years fixed for the murder of 18-year-old Dax Richens. As Idaho News 6 has reported, Garcia pleaded guilty to Richens' murder in July. Gooding County prosecutors say Garcia and another teen, Roland Dela Cruz, planned and carried out the deadly beating and stabbing of Richens in June of last year. Richens' body was found in a shallow grave months later. Dela Cruz will face sentencing on October 20th. The Idaho Department of Corrections says it has identified the employee who leaked video of convicted killer Brian Kohberger inside a state facility. That employee has since left the agency. The case was referred to Idaho State Police, but investigators found there wasn't enough evidence to pursue criminal charges. IDOC says it remains committed to maintaining high standards and protecting both inmates and staff, and added that state law prevents it from releasing further details about the personnel involved. Kohberger is serving life in prison for the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
Now documents posted today show the Idaho State Board of Medicine has officially suspended his license following a Wednesday board meeting. In its emergency order, the board said Wills's continued practice posed an immediate danger to public health and safety, citing multiple patient complaints and allegations of unprofessional conduct and boundary violations. Idaho News 6 requested copies of those complaints, but the board denied that request, citing confidentiality. The order temporarily halts his ability to practice medicine pending further review, while a formal complaint seeks further disciplinary action or possible revocation. The Department of Occupational and Professional Licenses, which oversees the medical board, confirmed the action to Idaho News 6. I spoke with a former employee at Wills's practice who says she raised concerns to the medical board weeks before his arrest. Her story and what she says she saw inside his practice, coming next week on Idaho News 6.
Prices in Boise are way up. That's not groundbreaking, but this is.
3, 2, 1.
I'm your neighborhood reporter, Greenlee Clark, in West Boise, where city officials break ground on the new Dorado apartments, aimed at bringing more affordable housing options to this neighborhood.
All right.
Today we broke ground on a 212-unit housing project that will bring housing choice and affordable housing to this neighborhood just off Fairview in Boise.
The Dorado Station Apartments will be a 6-story all-electric building in West Boise, adding a mix of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom homes.
It has 5 stories of apartments over 1 level of podium parking, so all the parking is contained in a garage on site. It has lots of amenities. It has lots of bike infrastructure. We're really pushing multimodal transportation here.
Rent will be income restricted for households earning 60% of the area median income or less. That's roughly $50,000 to $60,000 a year for a household. Additionally, 21 units will be dedicated to households exiting homelessness through Our Path Home. City leaders say projects like this are part of a bigger strategy to help residents across the affordable housing spectrum.
What we're looking to do is bring in housing inventory for folks that earn 80% of area median income or below, and this is the type of project that will do that.
The groundbreaking comes as Boise ranks #1 among mid-sized metros for rent increases, part of a trend where Montana and Idaho have seen prices rise more than 4 times the national average.
We were super intentional about the location as far as what it offers the neighborhood currently and what it can offer new residents once they're able to move in here.
The project is part of the City of Boise's Housing Land Trust, with land purchased by the city and leased to the developer for 99 years to preserve affordability.
It's the #1 issue that we hear from residents about, where they might have affordable housing options within the city where they work, live, and play, and that's what this project is poised to offer.
Construction is expected to be finished in the summer of 2027. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Greenlee Clark, for Idaho News 6.
A major downtown Meridian project is back on track. Allquist Development and the Pacific Companies have acquired the long-stalled Union 93 property at public auction. Plans call for new housing, retail, and office space. The new owners say they will work closely with the community to reimagine the site and ensure the project reflects Meridian's growth and future vision. Crews are putting the finishing touches on the new water tank in Nampa. We've been closely tracking the work for you, and the new tank can hold 1.5 million gallons of water, triple the capacity of the old water tower. The project also included a new well and booster pump station, and that's good news for the rapidly growing city and should mean more consistent water pressure for customers. The new tank sits on the same site as the old water tower, which came down in dramatic fashion almost 2 years ago. I was there in the early morning as crews tipped the iconic 50-year-old structure onto the ground. Oh, man, you got it? Holy moly! You can watch it again and find my full story on IdahoNews6.com.
After 80 years missing in action, an Idaho soldier now identified made his way back home. I'm your neighborhood reporter Brady Caskey, and Lieutenant Charles Atterbury of Wilder was greeted by family, veterans, and the Idaho National Guard when he landed here at the Boise airport.
We never expected something like this to happen.
Lindsay Atterbury and his family are one step closer to closure as his uncle, Lieutenant Charles Atterbury, returned home Thursday after being captured and killed as a prisoner of war in World War II.
He was buried in a mass grave with hundreds of other servicemen.
Lieutenant Atterbury's body was unidentifiable for decades until DNA testing came back as a match, meaning he is now accounted for.
We are one of the lucky ones because out of over 900 sets of remains, only 29 have been identified so far.
Lieutenant Atterbury's remains were met by an Idaho Army National Guard Honor Guard and were escorted by members of the Boise Valley POW MIA Corporation to the funeral home.
Whenever we get one, it's a big moment. It's hard to say exactly in words how it makes us feel because it's just joyous, and I'm sure the family is happy too. We finally have somebody that comes home. There's no longer an empty place at the table.
After 80 years, it's just remarkable that he's some of his remains are going to be able to be brought home. Speaking for the family, we really appreciate it.
Lieutenant Charles Atterbury will be buried on Monday next to his parents. Reporting from the Boise Airport, I'm Brady Caskey for Idaho News 6.
When we get back, cautious optimism and celebration in the Middle East as the Israeli government approves phase 1 of the ceasefire agreement aimed at ending the war in Gaza. And we're back on a Friday morning, 12 minutes past the hour. Let's take a look at your national headlines this morning. A judge has blocked the deployment of National Guard troops in the Chicago area for at least 2 weeks. The judge found no substantial evidence that a danger of rebellion is brewing in Illinois during Trump's immigration crackdown. It's a victory for Democratic officials who have battled with President Trump over his drive to put troops in major urban areas around the country. Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker says the court confirmed that there's no place for the National Guard in Chicago's streets. New York's Attorney General Letitia James was indicted Thursday in a mortgage fraud case that President Trump urged his Justice Department to bring. James, a Democrat who sued Trump over his business practices, was charged with bank fraud and making false statements in connection with a 2020 home purchase in Virginia. The indictment comes 2 weeks after former FBI Director James Comey was charged with lying to Congress. James called the charges baseless and accused Trump of weaponizing the justice system for political retribution. And the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize goes to Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. The Norwegian Nobel Committee just announced the award at a ceremony early this morning. Machado is praised for promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela. The committee says Machado helped achieve just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. Turning now to the Middle East, where Palestinians and Israelis are celebrating with cautious optimism. With the ceasefire now in effect, displaced Palestinians are getting a break from the bombing, and the Israelis are eagerly awaiting the release of the remaining hostages. Now, American troops will head to Israel to help monitor the truce, and President Trump himself plans to visit the Middle East on Sunday. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the very latest.
This morning, the Israel-Hamas peace deal is official. The Israeli government has approved phase 1 of the ceasefire agreement aimed at ending the war.
We couldn't have achieved it without the extraordinary help of President Trump and his team.
As part of the agreement, Israel has begun pulling back its troops to an agreed-upon line in Gaza. Once that's complete, Hamas will have 72 hours to release the 20 living hostages and the remains of 28 others.
We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday.
In exchange, Israel will release more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. But there are questions about what happens after phase 1.
Can Hamas be disarmed? No one is going to send their troops or their administrators to Gaza if Hamas still has guns.
The president's 20-point plan has called for Hamas to disarm and for Gaza to be governed by an apolitical Palestinian committee overseen by an international board of peace with Trump as its chairman.
What guarantees Hamas disarms and that Israel doesn't resume bombing once the hostages are released?
Well, the first thing we're doing is getting our hostages back, okay? And that's what people wanted more than anything else. And after that, we'll see.
The U.S. is preparing to send 200 service members to Israel, tasked with monitoring the ceasefire and supporting humanitarian aid, security, and logistics. Officials stressing there will be no boots on the ground in Gaza. While key aspects of the deal remain unclear, news of these first steps has sparked celebrations across Gaza and Israel. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
We're expecting a nice and warm Friday, so make sure those evening plans are ready to go. Clear conditions on top of that, too. As for the weekend, it's a little bit of a different story. We'll talk about the fall-like conditions on the way.
Now, Isaiah Sharp with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
When you think of the month of October, what usually comes to mind? Halloween decorations, pumpkin-sized lattes, and nice cool days. We're missing one of those things, and there's plenty of lattes out there, and Halloween's just around the corner. But the temperatures, my goodness, 90 degrees expected in Glenns Ferry. That's a nice summer day for them, honestly. 70s into the mountain ranges, a couple of 60s mixed in there. But these temperatures, these guys should be the daytime highs here, and we should be seeing 50s and 40s up into those mountains. But that is not the case, and it's all in part because of that system I showed you a few moments ago. But all of that set to change going into the weekend. Temperatures are going to be nice today into those 80s. But we do have a low pressure system that is set to roll on in. It's going to be dropping temperatures across the board in the Pacific Northwest. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. We've got some blue in the forecast showcasing a little bit of snow on the way for Stanley. Ketchum might see some light dusting on top of that too. Fair bit of rain expected for the Pocatello region on top of that as well. Clear skies expected for Boise, which is nice. If you got plans to go to the game, check the forecast. It looks as though there isn't chances of rain just yet, but make sure to tune in at least tonight. Scott Dorval will have a breakdown. Hopefully we'll keep that rain out of the forecast for you. If you got plans to go to Albertson Stadium, I'll show you the temperatures expected coming up in a few moments. But then going into the earliest parts of Sunday, expecting some snow up into those mountain ranges very close to the Boise region and some showers to pass on through. That's nice news for you Bogus Basin fans. But then temperatures expected to continue to be cool, and then it looks as though another low pressure system going to be making its way in. But this pattern is going to do something a little bit different. We're actually going to see a splitting off, and there's going to be a little bit of a gap here, bringing in slightly warmer conditions. Now, nothing like the 70s or 80s that we're going to be seeing today, but still going to see some slightly warmer conditions. Probably won't break into the 50s, just mid 60s on the way are expected. But the cooler than normal conditions are raining over the top of us. As you can see, that's expected to continue on from October 16th to the 20th. And so the middle of October to late October is expected to be a cool one. And on top of that too, take a look at some of the snowfall that's expected. This is a bit of an updated forecast from earlier, but expecting almost 3 inches of snow to the north of McCall, expecting an inch closer to Stanley, an inch to the east of Cascade. Impressive to see snow this early on, and plenty of snow on the way for the Montana region going into this weekend, or this next week I should say. 57 expected to kick off for Albertson Stadium, taking on New Mexico. 53 expected by halftime, and almost dropping into those 40s by the time that we are driving home. So just prepare for that and prepare for the cool conditions. Today expecting to be beautiful with 80s as the high. It's a different story for the rest of this week. We'll see 50s on Sunday, but pretty consistent 60s after that. It's going to be a cool one.
I take you on a backpacking trip through the Owyhee Canyonlands.
Idaho Back Roads, brought to you by Treasure Valley Subaru.
One of my favorite things about fall is how, as the seasons change, some of the recreation opportunities to explore change as well. Owyhee Canyonlands!
I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter Steve Dent in Oregon, where we go on a backpacking adventure.
Gee, they're wild horses.
Into the Honeycomb Wilderness Study Area. The Owyhee Canyonlands bring many challenges, and it starts with just getting there. The roads can be rough, and I ran into my first obstacle, where I decided it wouldn't be a good idea to attempt this water crossing. That added 3 additional miles each way. The second challenge comes with no trail.
Just working my way down there.
As we dropped into Carlton Canyon and made our way through this unforgiving but beautiful landscape.
There's the honeycombs. But I am running out of time.
But the biggest challenge comes with a lack of water. I didn't find any water on this journey, and because the first 2 challenges slowed us down,
seeing if we can get to the lake,
we had to hike in the dark to make it to Owyhee Reservoir, and more importantly, our first water source. If this landscape piques your interest, I wouldn't recommend this trip. I'd start with Leslie Gulch, where the dirt road is in much better condition. You'll see other people down there. There's a campground, and you can drive all the way to the reservoir. The hiking trails around Leslie Gulch will offer similar views, but for me, there's just something special about exploring this area on foot, using my navigational skills and camping in solitude.
I'm your Idaho Backroads neighborhood reporter Steve Dent for Idaho News 6.
Once again, Chief is the luckiest dog alive, hanging around with Steve Dent, going to places like that. That's so cool. Thanks for joining us this morning on Good Morning Idaho. It's Friday, everybody. We've got a lot more in store this morning, and here's what's still to come from your neighborhood reporters.
A new series of workshops called Save Our Schools Idaho is looking to educate parents on tax credits.
On the Boise bench, how these little tabs tell a local family's story of loss and how you can help.
Now a look outside from the Treasure Valley Chevy Dealers Tower Cam.
Connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Welcome back to Good Morning Idaho on a Friday morning. TGIF, everyone. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris. Good to have you along. We've got a lot to get to from our team of neighborhood reporters in this last half hour this morning, like Sahana Patel highlighting a Boise bench family who's collecting thousands of soda can tabs to raise money for the Ronald McDonald House, honoring their late son's memory. Plus, Keith Burrell takes a closer look at the growing debate around Idaho classrooms, speaking with one nonprofit fervently against Idaho's private school tax credit. He'll explain why. First, though, let's bring in Isaiah Sharp, latest on our weather. I told you at the beginning of the show I had some Count Chocula this morning. It was up in the break room. Now I'm hitting the wall.
Yeah, I just had some Honey Nut Cheerios, so I'm fired up. You got to get some more Count Chocula in your
Okay, you take over then.
All right, let's get to it. Well, take one look at this forecast. Do you see anything that's wrong here? Dark skies and 70 degrees. That's usually what the daytime high looks like. We're dealing with a little bit of an abnormal system passing on through. On top of that, too, the wind that's being blown into the Treasure Valley, not as normal as you usually see. Take a look at some of the temperatures, the daytime or the nighttime highs, I should say, we've seen up to this point. 74 in Boise, 63 over in Twin Falls, and temperatures are just expected to climb after this. Here's the system that's kind of causing that. We've got a low pressure system hanging off the coastline. We'll address that in my main forecast. And then a high pressure ridge that's off to the east of us, and it's just bringing in all of this warm air into our region and bringing in all that wind on top of that too. So a warm day is expected, nice clear skies as well. The weekend's a bit of a forecast, so stick around. I'll have details on that coming up in a few.
All right, thanks, Isaiah. And let's turn to the news now, and we start with the government shutdown this half hour. It's stretching into a second week, and there's growing anxiety among American military, and some Republicans are calling on Mike Johnson to bring the House back in session ahead of a critical deadline. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more.
This morning, new pressure on Republicans to end the government shutdown as federal workers face a second week without pay.
As a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die.
House Speaker Mike Johnson faced fierce criticism on live TV on Thursday as a woman claiming to be a military spouse accuses him of putting her children at risk.
You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military is getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes six figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
Military families lining up for hours for a food pantry distribution in Fort Hood, Texas, as they brace for a missed paycheck. But Johnson is saying only Democrats can end the shutdown.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are preventing your family from getting the care they need, not Republicans, and my heart goes out to you.
Meanwhile, Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene admits her own party could end the shutdown.
I'm a representative. I don't have to be a cheerleader for my party. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown.
It comes as airports across the country are hit with hours-long delays due to staffing shortages. 21,000 flights were delayed this week. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying 53% of those delays were caused by sick calls. Duffy now saying workers who call out could be fired. House Democrats say they're willing to pass a standalone bill to ensure pay for troops during the shutdown, but Johnson says he won't support the bill because it won't pass the Senate. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
One of the biggest sticking points of the federal shutdown are those expiring health care subsidies.
It's pretty scary.
Democrats warning a major spike in premiums would be a serious hardship in a time of rising rents and groceries. They say they won't budge on the issue.
Making these tax credits permanent would cost less than 1/10 of the price tag of the billionaire tax cut they passed earlier in the year. Less than 1/10.
On a call today, some Idahoans joining Democratic Senator Melissa Wintrow to share their concerns.
Just keeping everything the same as this year as far as my income, my premium would actually go up by 175%. If the enhanced tax credit goes away, then I'm looking at a 900% increase.
Republican leaders now saying they're willing to discuss the subsidies issue, but only after a deal to reopen the government.
And they keep using healthcare as a cudgel.
President Donald Trump touting his efforts to reduce prescription drug prices. Regardless of what happens, the Idaho Department of Insurance says the average cost for an individual plan on the state health exchange will go up 10% this year. Open enrollment for Your Health Idaho begins October 15th.
A Boise Bench family is giving back to a place that helped them during their hardest days. I'm your Boise Bench neighborhood reporter Sahana Patel, learning how these little tabs honor their son's memory and help the Ronald McDonald House.
7, 8.
After their son Kai was born with a heart defect, the Colquitt family packed up and went to Utah for his treatment. For 3 weeks, they called the Ronald McDonald House in Salt Lake City home.
They make a really impossible time feel manageable.
The Ronald McDonald House offers families with hospitalized children a home away from home, providing meals, support, and a place to rest.
Do you get orange?
Sadly, Kai passed away just 6 weeks after he was born. But the Colquitts knew they wanted to honor their lost child. So in 2020, they started collecting tabs to raise money for the Ronald McDonald House in Boise. Now, donations come in from across the country.
Folks, in Florida, that their local police department collected for us and sent them in our way.
Every Halloween, on Kai's birthday, the Colquitts donate their collection. Last year, the Idaho chapter received more than 16,000 pounds of pop tabs. That's about $4,000 raised. 1 pound of pop tabs equals 50 cents.
It is the simple fact that every little pop tab that is collected is a brief thought of our son.
If you'd like to donate tabs on behalf of the Colquitt family, you can find their contact information on this story on idahonews6.com. I'm your Boise Bench neighborhood reporter Sahana Patel for Idaho News 6.
The Boise School District has a new school board trustee. It's an unpaid volunteer position that does have a major impact, though, on our education in our state. Dr. Alejandro Necachia beating out 6 other candidates for the vacant position. The board selecting him after a months-long public process. Dr. Necachia will be sworn in at a future meeting and serve until the next regular election for the position, which comes in September of next year.
I'm your Napa neighborhood reporter, Keith Brill. I'm taking a closer look at a growing debate in Idaho schools. $50 million in tax credits and the local educators that are looking to educate parents through a new series of workshops called Save Our Schools Idaho.
Save Our Schools Idaho is a nonprofit not in favor of those tax credits expanding and is mobilizing across the Treasure Valley to educate parents on the impacts this has on tax-funded education in Idaho. These educators worry the program could expand to more than $300 million each year, totaling billions in taxpayer funds over the next decade.
It impacts the lack of staffing and resources in public schools and special education. Legislators know there's a shortfall in funding. They deliberately ignored it. They found $50 million for private schools. That's ignoring the problem and exasperating.
Joy Palmer is one of the 4 panelists leading these workshops, which informs parents about the program and its potential impact on public schools. Former Republican Idaho representative and retired teacher Julie Yamamoto is also participating.
The schools would love nothing more than to meet the individual needs of individual students, and if they had the funds to do so, would be more than happy to do it.
Parents want to know why public dollars are going to schools that can deny their children. So if it's public money, it also needs to be full public access to those schools as well.
Many Republican lawmakers argue the tax credit program gives families more control over their child's education. They say it makes private schooling more affordable and ensures education dollars follow students. Supporters call it an investment in opportunity.
We clearly can see that we still have not met our constitutional obligation to our regular public schools. And even with what we did with charter schools, there is only so much of a pie.
Save Our Schools Idaho will be hosting workshops throughout the month of October from Fruitland all the way to Mountain Home, and the first one is this Saturday at Nampa High's Little Theater, and you can find a link to all the forum dates and locations in this story on our website, idahonews6.com. From Nampa, I'm your Nampa neighborhood reporter Keith Burrell for Idaho News 6.
And tomorrow, the Broncos are back on the blue, facing off against New Mexico. Both teams are 3-2, and the Broncos are hoping to bounce back after a 28-7 loss to Notre Dame last week. The Lobos also lost their last contest against San Jose State. The Broncos are heavily favored to win and have won their last 3 games against New Mexico. Kickoff is set for 7:45 tomorrow night. All right, considering that, it's 6:38, and let's take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. And we start with Boise State again. A heads up to drivers around Boise State's campus this evening with the homecoming parade. The parade will run along Cesar Chavez Lane, starting at Brady Street into West Stadium parking lot and ending at the intramural fields. If you want to check out the parade, you can find a spot along the Greenbelt for a great view of the floats, and parking is mostly open across campus. The parade starts at 6 p.m. The Idaho Steelheads are hitting the ice for the first time this season tonight in a preseason matchup against the Utah Grizzlies. After tonight's game, the Steelies will travel to West Valley City, Utah for another match tomorrow night against the Grizzlies. The season officially kicks off on the 17th, and puck drop tonight is set for 7:10. And something else to do tonight, the off-Broadway show Dracula, a comedy of terrors, coming to downtown Boise tonight. It is October after all. It's a 90-minute laugh-out-loud reimagining of the Gothic classic they say is perfect for audiences of all blood types. They will be in town for the next couple of weeks performing at the Boise Little Theater, with the show starting tonight at 7:30.
Voters in Minidoka County will decide on Election Day whether to approve a $3.8 million school levy. But the district says the ballot doesn't tell the whole story about what taxpayers will actually pay. I'm your Mini-Cassia neighborhood reporter Joey Martin, sitting down with the superintendent of schools to learn more about what the ballot doesn't say.
The Minidoka County School District serves 9 schools and more than 4,000 students. The current bond and 2-year supplemental levy the district operates under is coming to an end. Now, the district is asking voters to approve a new supplemental levy to continue current operations.
Well, a supplemental levy are just dollars that are approved by voters that really can be used for everyday operating costs, classroom supplies, and just ongoing technology and basic maintenance needs of the school district.
The district has designated 4 areas for the funds: student learning resources, safety, security, and technology, equipment and furniture, and campus repair and maintenance. According to the ballot, the estimated cost to taxpayers would be $127.40 per $100,000 of taxable assessed value. But Superintendent Larson says that number is actually misleading.
That $127.40 does not reflect the fact that we will have a bond falling off. It also does not reflect the fact that we receive or will receive $3.7 million in school district facility offset monies.
So in reality, Larson says the actual financial impact would be much less.
Currently, our rate is $64.89 per 100,000 of taxable increase. With the offset dollars, with the bond falling off, the new tax impact is going to be $15.43 per 100,000 of taxable income. And that is a substantial reduction from the current rate.
Larson says the state ballot language requirements don't allow additional information beyond the official tax implications, and that estimation does not account for everything, raising questions about Idaho ballot transparency.
The Minidoka County clerk says they cannot verify Larson's claim because they do not have access to the school district's financials. Reporting in Rupert, I'm your neighborhood reporter Joey Martin, Idaho News 6.
Idaho News 6 Allergy Report is brought to you by Boise Valley Asthma and Allergy Clinic.
A quick update on the pollen count, and quite the roller coaster drop from yesterday. We were sitting at 470 when it came to the sage pollen that's out there. It's still only sage in the air, but a lot lighter, sitting at 70 into that high category. Really nice to see, and just in time for that lovely weekend.
Kids and cappuccinos often don't go together, but for this week's Made in Idaho, I'm bringing you into a coffee shop here in Meridian that's creating a community space and welcoming all generations.
It's honestly so important in that stage of life to have a community.
Allison Osborne owns Cafe and Play in Meridian. The business started welcoming visitors in August, but this idea has been brewing for years. Inspired by her own experience as a new mom, Osborne wanted to create a space that served more than lattes, a space that poured into people.
When I had my firstborn, I struggled with postpartum depression and a lot of anxiety and isolation.
During that time, she and her family visited a play cafe in Korea, and the idea just clicked. She knew Meridian needed something similar to help parents recharge and refill their cups. While Cafe and Play may cater to families and kids, it's also a welcoming space for coffee lovers of any age.
So when you first walk in, you're walking into the cafe.
From the espresso bar to the indoor playground, art room, and study space, it's a perfect spot to sip, study, or socialize, especially as the weather cools down. Parents Jessica and Patrick from Star say it might just become their go-to spot to bring their daughter Bella.
This is amazing. This is like a new concept. She just loves it.
Cleanliness and the quality of the toys are above and beyond what we've seen at other locations.
Osborne says Cafe and Play will host birthday parties and special events and hopes to keep roasting up more ideas to bring the community together.
Every single day that I'm in here, I see the connection and this community.
For updates on seasonal drinks or special events happening here at Cafe and Play, they encourage their customers to check out their Instagram. I'm Meridian neighborhood reporter Riley Tripke for Idaho News 6.
Now, Isaiah Sharp with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
I mentioned it in earlier shows. It's October, which means pumpkin spice lattes, lots of football, and cooler weather, right? Well, we've got those two other things. Sorry, Eagles. But still, temperatures sitting into the 90s today for Glens Ferry. Unfortunately, the Eagles not getting too much better. But temperatures looking great for us this weekend. Roland Barris busting up laughing back here. Sitting into the 80s for the Treasure Valley region, 70s into those mountain ranges. Not what we normally see. But if you're waiting for the fall weather to arrive, it's going to be arriving fairly soon. We've got cooler weather moving on in with a low pressure system that's going to be dropping those temperatures really quickly. We're talking 80s today and 50s by Sunday, which means we've got chances of snow up into those mountain ranges and a fair bit of rain on top of that too for the Pocatello region. Boise is going to stay nice and dry, which is good news for all you who are going to Albertson Stadium, but temperatures are still going to continue to be cool even moving into Sunday. We've seen a bit of a shift when it comes to those showers. More of those are going to be moving towards the Stanley region. You got some up towards Lewiston, Pendleton, Baker City on top of that too. Bozeman, Montana going to be receiving a lot of snow in the next 24 hours or so. Conditions not set to get any warmer after that too. This low pressure system looks as though maybe making its way in, but we're going to see this strange splitting off that's going to happen, bringing cooler temperatures still into the region, just not as cold as what we saw earlier this week. Temperatures we saw were sitting into the 50s. Now going to be into those 60s for the rest of the week. Like I mentioned, if you got plans to be at Albertson Stadium, some good news, not tracking any of that rain that we saw earlier this week. But 57 on the way at kickoff, and then temperatures dropping almost in it to those 40s by your drive home. So just prepare for that. Going to want to keep that jacket on basically the entire game. Temperatures across the board, though, sitting into the 60s. Like I mentioned, yesterday was 80 degrees. Today, we're going to be sitting into the 80s as well. And then the plummet soon after that. 62 on Saturday, 50s the high on Sunday. Nice cool nights on top of that, too. Keep that window open at night. And then temperatures sitting into the 60s across the board. There are chances of showers on Wednesday for the Treasure Valley region, but just prepare. After today, we've got real fall-like conditions arriving, and they're going to be sticking around for quite a while. Let's get to your traffic.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
And a beautiful shot. Still waiting for the sun to arrive. Temperature sitting in to those 70s, like I mentioned, which is strange enough. Traffic is looking phenomenal right now. 29 minutes from Caldwell to downtown Boise. Not a lot of traction, honestly, on a Friday, which is great to see. If you're headed the opposite direction, downtown Boise to Meridian sitting at 16 minutes westbound, and conditions looking pretty great across the board. Caldwell to Garrity sitting at 12 minutes. Garrity to Eagle sitting at 7, and Eagle to downtown Boise sitting at 7 minutes as well. well. So get out there, enjoy the nice temperatures, and enjoy the nice roads.
This morning's GMA First Look, the legal battle over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, a diss track directed at fellow rap superstar Drake, could be near its end.
They not like us. They not like us.
A federal judge tossing out Drake's defamation suit against his label, Universal Music Group, determining the song's lyrics in question are non-actionable opinion. Lamar, who is also represented by UMG, is not a defendant. However, these scathing lyrics from him were at issue.
Say, Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to Cell Block 1.
Not Like Us was released amid a weeks-long exchange of diss tracks between the two rappers in spring of 2024, hitting #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sweeping the Grammys with 5 wins. Lamar going on to perform the song at this year's Super Bowl halftime show. And coming up at 7 a.m., we'll tell you what's next in this ongoing feud. With your GMA First Look, I'm Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
All right, everyone, welcome back. And we are just wrapping things up here on Good Morning Idaho. In case you missed it, here are the top stories that we're following from our neighborhood reporters.
In Boise, affordable living is on the way. Shovels hit the ground in West Boise for a project city leaders say could change the housing landscape. It's tall, it's modern, and it's designed to help more people afford a place to live. How this new development could make a difference for one growing neighborhood.
On the Boise bench, meet the local family turning heartbreak into help. After their son Kai passed away from a heart defect, the Colquitt family began collecting soda tabs to support the Ronald McDonald House Charities, the place that cared for them during his treatment. What started with a few Ziploc bags has now grown into donations from across the country, all honoring Kai's memory and helping families facing the hardest days of their lives. The Colquitts are still collecting and will donate their tabs from this year on October 31st on Kai's birthday.
One of my favorite things about fall is how, as the seasons change, some of the recreation opportunities to explore change as well.
One of my favorite spots in the fall includes the Owyhee Canyon lands, and I took some time to backpack into this rugged but beautiful landscape. I avoid this area in the summer because of the heat and a fear of the Great Basin rattlesnake.
And of course, you can learn more about all these stories on our website. Just head to idahonews6.com.
Now, the Out the Door forecast, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
Last look at that forecast. As temperatures are going to be awesome today. Summer-like conditions almost. Temperatures sitting into the 70s, so I'm not too sure about these 60s that we're seeing here. We will be rising into those 70s very quickly, and then 80s expected to be the high around 3 and 5 p.m. So make sure you enjoy it because the weekend's going to be a lot cooler. Let's take a look at that traffic.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
And one more look at that Grove Tower Cam. Still waiting for the sun to arise. Traffic is looking fairly nice today. 29 minutes to get all the way across town, and things are looking great when it comes the other direction too. Westbound is sitting at 16 minutes, and all your travel times are looking great. Doesn't look like there's tons of traffic. Do you want to know where there was tons of traffic? It was the base paths last night for the Dodgers, and for some reason, Roland, you and I have been chatting about this play all this morning.
Everyone is.
You throw it to first.
Yeah,
I don't know how you missed that.
Oh, this poor pitcher. I mean, we're talking about him having a hard time going back to Philadelphia because we know about the fans over there. They can be pretty rowdy.
Yes.
He threw it to the wrong place. The catcher is saying, throw it to first. Throw it to first.
Directly pointing, and the distance. I mean, that guy is almost home, and he's just barely picking it up off the ground. That's playoff baseball for you.
Yeah, right. Don Nelson is just pulling his hair out today. He's a big Phillies fan, and but your Mariners play tonight?
Mariners play tonight. Fingers crossed we don't have any of those happen. But, I mean, the Tigers are formidable. They are a tough one. Hey, your Cubbies, they're staying alive.
2 do-or-die games coming up tonight and tomorrow. It's going to be fun to watch, everyone. It is Friday. Thank goodness we made it to the weekend, everyone. Hope you have a terrific weekend. We'll see you again next week. Have a good one.
Thanks.